that these movies were ever sold to us as benign in any way, but it did cause me, after seeing both versions, to look up the rules of prisoners of war under the Geneva Convention. Which, it's a bit radical, but I decided to do it. And several things are required. There's several Geneva Conventions. One was agreed upon in June of 1931. So you'd have to look up when exactly this movie came out, the first movie came out. But it does cover that in prisoner of war camps, yes, unfortunately we're going there, food must be of similar quality as their own soldiers get. It cannot be used as punishment, and there should be adequate clothing provided. So already in both films, these girls are under worse restrictions than being a prisoner of war.
In a boarding school.
In a very high aristocratic boarding school. It's very, very sad. So one of the complaints of the girls is why hunger even more on Sundays than on normal days. Yeah, so this is... And the fact that it's not addressed at any time, when you watch Jane Eyre or you read Jane Eyre, it's addressed. It's like they are skimping. They're making sure, and the same thing is happening at this boarding school. They're skimping. These girls are not getting enough food. They're doing it out of frugality.
There was the same thing going on with the little princess. There was also always a lack of stuff.
Yeah, and we know that history has shown that until at least the First World War, pretty much everybody was always hungry because food was expensive, it was difficult, you had to have somebody prepare it for you, or you were the one preparing it, and then what you were doing was basically that's what you did your entire life, was deal with food. So people had maids, they had normal families, had housekeepers, cooks, everybody was always cooking, and if they weren't cooking, they were kneading bread, because you always needed bread. If they weren't doing that, they were preserving the food that you came out of your own garden, because everybody had a food garden.
And if you weren't doing that, you were mending clothes.
Yes, and this is what the girls are doing on Sundays. They are mending the clothes, because the girls don't get to touch the food. And when our main character Manuela arrives, she has some chocolate with her, and that gets immediately confiscated. It's not even like, let's all eat it and rejoice that there's a little bit of chocolate. No, it's gone. She has it, and it's taken from her. So yeah, this is pretty bad. There's more. On the Geneva Convention in 1949, they amended it again, and so you should have protection against all sorts of things like violence, but also insults. You should be protected from public curiosity. You should be protected from acts of intimidation. You should still get adequate food, and you should get adequate medical care.
And shelter as well.
Yes. I'm sure I skipped that part because that would be somewhere, but I wrote down the things that were like of importance to hear. This Geneva Convention of 1949 covers members of the armed forces, volunteer corps who have been taken by the enemy. These girls are being trained, being drilled to be Soldatenmutter, mothers of soldiers. That is their function in life. And the Frau Oberin, which is the headmistress of the school, she has that in everything she talks about to the teachers. She talks to the students. Everything is about you need to have discipline. You need to be deprived, literally. You need to be deprived of things that will give you discipline. And in the first film, they give them like drilling exercise, which is literally just marching, but they drill them around the main hall because there is no... I'm going to chalk it up to they couldn't film outside. Because in the second film, the first thing you see is when she arrives is you see the girls being marched outside into the school. And then the rest of it is all inside the school except for a stroll around the grounds. But they're skipping over it because it's just the baseline of their life. It's not the point of the film. It's not the point of the narrative. It's like they're being treated this badly. It's the entourage. It's the setting. And that's even sadder. That's even worse. Because the actual point of the film is that this young girl who's only 14 and a half, it's said in both films, she is under 15. She is given in care there because her mother died and her auntie doesn't want her, and her father, nobody leaves a girl with her father. He's not going to feed her. He's not going to... Her father is some kind of like high mogul in some army or something.
Yeah, and I think these girls are, yes, they're... I know in the film they said soldatenmutter, but I think they're meant to be officer mother.
Of course,
not
soldaten.
Regular
No. This is. I think to call it soldatenmutter is to downplay it and to say you should at least, you should have sons, and they should be strong and they should go into the army. But of course, they are very high-placed aristocratic girls, so they have to be the officers and the generals and all of that. And that's her function in life, and that's the function of all these girls in life. And what I like about these films is that they show the girls as girls. The only thing that they can't do, which is very unfortunate, and they should make a third film, please, is now actually cast maybe not 14-year-olds, but 16-year-olds. That the kids are old enough that they won't have a problem, life won't give them a problem with having played in a movie like this. But I think to tell the story again from the 2020s perspective and saying, listen, if this is how you're treating your very best people, well, the people they're not so much the best, they're more like they are the most privileged, and you're starving them.
They're upper class. They're actually upper class.
Totally upper class. Yeah.
With titles and everything.
Yes. And they're doing things like, we were talking about clothing. You have the right to adequate clothing. They take away their clothing and they say you can only keep your undergarments. And Manuela, she has her undergarments just like Anne of Green Gables and Shirley. Is that was given to her like at some point in the past, but since her mother died and her aunt does not care. That's not said, but it is very clearly like the aunt is just like, they gave me a child. She is not very peppy. Gosh, her mother just died. I don't know. She's not very peppy. Her father is not going to do anything, and I'm going to throw her into this school. And then they use that as an excuse. In the first film is like, hey, when the undergarments aren't right, you just write to the mother. You don't call, because 1900, they didn't have phone. You write to the mother and you say, send new undergarments. And then the answer is, she has no mother. They changed that in the 1958 movie. Because there they're saying you should write to the auntie. So they are acknowledging that this is the thing. Because I watched the 31 movie first and I'm like, wow, they're setting everybody up to fail. I mean, they've already said that the kid is there because her mother died, and a lot of these children are saying the same. There's something happened. So there is another option. They don't have to be in this school. But in the 58 film, they have actually acknowledged that no, it's normal that you write to whoever is the female relative that is supposed to take care of her, and the auntie is the one who put her here.
Yeah, but I think that the auntie, yes, we see that as terrible, but she did the right thing according to her station. This is what these girls are supposed to do. Even if the mother had lived, Manuela might have ended up in that boarding school, because that is all these girls went there.
Yeah. And that's another point that I've started to realize while watching both films is like there are no other age groups in the school. So this school is specifically for their age group. So you're probably going to be moved to another school in 1 or maximum 2 years, because then you're in another age group. And that seems to be what they're doing here, because there is no like upperclassmen, lowerclassmen,
So
nothing like that.
group age of like 3 years maybe.
At the very most. Of course, for the film, you only see her peers. But also, when the princess comes to visit, and that happens in both films, because it's pivotal that happens, they line all the girls up. And you can see they are the same age, they're wearing the same clothes. The alterations of the garments in the first film, the 31 film, they are still having a seamstress in that is just there. So yes, the girls have to sew their own undergarments. They have to keep that up to including socks, probably underwear. But their dresses, they only have one dress, and they have the uniform dress, and they have a nice dress. Whereas in the 58 film, they just have the uniform, and they have an apron over it under normal circumstances, and they have a lace collar for their nice, to show up their best. And then of course they won't be wearing their apron. I think an apron thing is more logical. The first film, the 1931 film, has a massive problem that they've just had the flapper age.
Yeah, I think the fact that I think in 1931 they would have thought that aprons is terribly old-fashioned, and we're not doing old-fashioned here because they didn't want to do that in 1931. They want to be modern.
Yeah, and they can't. Everything the girls are wearing is not correct. Everything the Frau Oberin, the headmistress, is wearing is correct. What the teachers are wearing is possibly correcter. The older they get, the more they're willing to, but they're not going to put these young girls in corsets, and they're just not going to do it. So you either have to decide, okay, they're 14, therefore they're prepubescent, and we're putting them in the Anne of Green Gables as she arrives, or they are 15 plus and they're young ladies, and now we have the corsets, and we have the waistlines, and we have the puff sleeves, and we have everything. And they just have to be these long, down to the ground dresses that have no shape.
But in 1931, for the entire film industry, it was not a tradition to do costumes of the time that your thing was set in. Yeah. You just do whatever you're wearing now, like that 1930. I'd have to look it up. Film called the Roaring Twenties, which was set in the Roaring Twenties, made by people who were actually in the Roaring Twenties, and everybody's wearing the fashion of that year and not of the Roaring Twenties.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the 58 movie we have Romy Schneider, who is of the absolute famous Sissie films.
And the queen of costume dramas.
And we have gloriously long hair, because she has the most beautiful hair in the universe. But all the girls have the long hair as they should, and they're all braided. Whereas in the first film they make a point of you can't have your hair loose, but a lot of these girls have bobline hair because it's 1931 and that's what girls have. So most of the girls have hair that's almost too short, and then they just leave it. And that's a choice. I don't dispute that choice. If you're not going to go with wigs, then... I mean, make the hair longer is a lot harder than make the hair shorter for a film. So, and I could also see that there's going to be actresses who will not have their hair cut short for a film. So...
No, they would all have it short, because in 1927 the fashion for girls was all short hair. So by 1931 you have been growing it for only 4 years.
Yeah, it's not enough. No. It's most of them have bob lines. And then you just go, honestly, let's just do it this way.
If you in 1927 you have a fully short hair, then by 1931, if you grow it out at breakneck speed, you have a bob line. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you still have to go to the hairdressers and make it look good. You can't just let it go. That's the 70s. That's not happening for a good long while. But it is the more... It has its own aesthetic. I do like how it looks in the 1931 movie, but it's more of an interesting... Okay, this is how it looks. And then I was constantly thinking, are they trying to say this is 1931? Or are they trying to say that let's just go with it? Yes, the headmistress has the turn of the century clothing on. It's fine. They specifically do not talk about when this is. Whereas in the 58 film, they start. This is 1910. Boom. And that works. And of course in 1958 we wanted to see all the costumes and all the puff sleeves and all the corsets. So it completely works. And it's in glorious color and it's in widescreen. It's lovely. It's wonderful. Yeah, my conclusion is that these girls are in prison. That's very sad. But in a way, a lot of boarding schools were prisons because you had to keep the kids there and you were under mandatory whatevers. Now, normally, I would imagine in a boarding school you have a mentor assigned to you, and we've discussed on this channel that in Hogwarts they also did it wrong, and that's not 1931 or 1910. So yeah, there's nobody taking care of these girls. There is Fräulein von Bernburg, effectively the mentor of Manuela's class, because she's in the sleeping hall that Fräulein von Bernburg is overseeing, and that's as far as that goes. That's it, done. This is all your nurturing you're going to get.
She's the den mother.
Den mother, yeah. But it consists of it's bedtime, and now you need to sleep. That's it. And I did like seeing the ablutions, in the first film where you see all these racks with curtains and little cubby holes that the girls are there to wash themselves. You don't see a shower. I don't think in 1931 they thought that everybody had a shower. I think you don't see anything. So I think they have a bowl. And that's it.
Yes. Or
or maybe a faucet, like a private faucet, but since we don't see it, we don't know.
And the water is going to be cold.
Yes, and it's supposed to be 1900 or 1910, so yeah, very more likely they had to fill the bowl up and then go into their own little cubby, so there was privacy.
Yeah, but in olden days, like 1900, you didn't wash every day, but you did wash your face and your hands, the stuff that's on the surface, every day and every night.
Yeah.
But in those days, one would have one bath per week or per half week, depending.
Yeah. Now I'm blanking on which movie it was, but I think it was the 31 movie where there was a bath. No, it was the 58 film. There was a bath, and one of the girls has the cubbyhole of the bath, and she's being told, okay, take your bath. Whereas the other ones are just doing the thing. But in the 58 film, they don't have cubbyholes. They have racks that you can move, so they're rounded, and they still have a curtain, and they can push it closed, and there's a shower. Everyone has a private shower. Well, private. It's a big hole, so no. I don't think showers existed in 1910.
No.
So all of them were all of them were making conclusions, and one of them does something well and the other one doesn't, but it is details. The story for both of them is the same. I like the 58 film better for a couple of reasons. The 58 film basically took the script of the 31 film and said, what's missing? And they added it in. And that's why it's better. Because they just have time, they have better ways of filming, they know how to write a story. Whereas the 31 film, they sometimes go from one thing to another and going, oh, what happened? I guess I'm supposed to know, blah. Okay, here we are. So they're not taking you properly across the plot points.
In 1931, they may have been too close to the events, and in 58, you can take more of a distance and look at it more.
You want to say more about it. You want to underline
but
it more.
also you're less emotionally charged with that time. It's that long ago.
I think that could be part. Another part I think is definitely just skills in filming.
Yeah, 1931 is not a good time to make your movie yet.
It's early.
It's early.
You know, they're learning the things while they're making this film. And they're beautiful close-ups. And they have... The acting is excellent. There is literally nothing to fault here. The girl who's playing it, I didn't look up her age, but she's certainly not 14. But she makes us believe it. And that's really, really good acting. And everybody else makes us believe it. Both films kind of start to lose track of how young these girls are. Because all the implications is like, oh, this is so horrible. She is 14! At 14, she is just looking for a warm hand. And yes, you can fall in love at 14. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's literally this... love at 14 shouldn't define the rest of your life. And of course, they're gonna throw everything on, lesbianism. Well, so my question is, for both films, the lesbianism seems to be less important for everybody else who's doing lesbianism in this film. Because you have several couples of girls that are dating each other. Very clearly dating each other. Writing each other love letters. Again, letter writing is denied, and I was looking at that, whether that's under the Geneva Convention. To be, you're not allowed to write anything down. They said she's not allowed letter writing, and in the 58 film, she's not allowed her diary. I mean, it's all of it smacks of brainwashing and. Terrorizing people. I mean, no, this is so bad. But it's good that we have films like this, because it was based on a play that was written by a woman who actually experienced this stuff. So she wrote as you can read in the Wikipedia, that she was just writing her traumas down of the absolutely horrific time that she had there.
But that makes it come across as real, because it is real.
Yeah,
that always works. Yeah. That's like instant success. If it's real, it's real.
Yeah, and people in 31 would have recognized it immediately and going, I know people who went there. I know people that know people, and I went there, or my grandmother went there, or whatever. And in 58, the story is still so good and people then were now 50 years or 60 years removed from that period, and 2 world wars, by the way. So we're wanting to distance, but we're also going, how did we get here? And that is one of the ways that they wanted these girls to become the people that created the world wars.
What I wanted to say was that I think the Germans are, in their filmmaking, always and now still, trying to be honest about the bad past, and it was shit, and we're putting it down. Even in 1958, when they were trying, everybody was doing roses and moonlight, they still wanted to put down that, hey, this is actually the truth.
Yeah.
And even if it's not what you want to hear, we still want to say it, because I've seen that a lot in German filmmaking.
And I think it's also saying, if we look at how we got here, then we can make sure we don't ever do that again. And this story is very much saying, don't do this to children. And the only thing where it stops short is that Manuela tries to commit suicide, and in both versions she doesn't quite make it, because she gets pulled
Rescued!
Yeah, she gets pulled out. And both films do it a slightly different way. And I was already going, what's happening here? Did they want to dramatize it further? No, it's not in the original play. So that's why it feels a little weird. And in both films...
She dies in the original play.
Yeah, she commits suicide. And that's more likely. Because there wouldn't be anybody. The only reason that they actually managed to not have her commit suicide is because they were already scouring the entire school for where is she? And then the girls, so everybody was out, and school is a building. Yes, it'll be large, but it's gonna be finite. And then they see her up in the rafters of the
stairwell.
The stairwell, indeed. And then practically everybody's there, because the moment one girl starts screaming she's here, they all come out of their various places where they're looking, and there's the stairwell. Everybody's there. So it is likely that she can get rescued, but only because people were looking for her. What if she tries again? Yeah.
And she will try again if the situation doesn't change.
Yes, and the first film... They are saying Fräulein von Bernburg had failed in what she wanted to accomplish, namely she wanted to make a more humane place for these girls, a humane experience. And the school wouldn't let her. The Frau Oberin would not let her, the headmistress. So she failed, and she's like, okay, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. And the... Frau Oberin is shocked, and that's where the film ends. Does Frau Oberin do something with it? We don't know. But she is shocked because she looks like in all her years, had not had a girl try to commit suicide.
And she thought she was doing the right thing. The right thing with capital letters.
Yes. And this is better for these girls. No, it's
also
not better for these girls.
Capital letters.
Yes, it's not better for these girls. It's not better for anybody. It's horrible. And it shows all the bystanders. All these teachers are like falling in line. And even the French teacher who's a French woman and the English teacher who's an English woman, in both versions, they all fall in line and going, well, this is just how it is. It's 1910. What are we going to do? We have nothing to say about this. And in 1958, there is an extra scene. Because now Manuela is in the
hospital wing?
Yeah, in the hospital bed. And both Frau Oberin and Fräulein von Bernburg come in and they have a conversation. Frau Oberin begs her to stay and said, I misjudged everything, we need change. These are the subtextual things. But she pretty much says it, and she says, please stay, subtextually, to teach us how to do these things. And then Fräulein von Bernburg still says, I'm leaving. And that, I think, was a mistake. I always thought that was a mistake. That was the first thing I remembered about the details of the films, but she didn't stay at the end.
Yeah, if she leaves, then Manuela is going to try again.
Manuela can't go anywhere.
She's no choice.
She maybe has turned 15 by the end of the film. Maybe. Where is she gonna go? I mean, now at 15 you can't even go anywhere, but back then you were never going to be able to decide where you were gonna go. And they're not really teaching them life skills here. Yeah. Because Fräulein von Bernburg in the first film, she's doing Bible studies. That's what they're learning. Passages of the Bible. That's all they're learning. And of course they're learning French, they're learning English. And because they're going to be, at the very most, diplomatic people. And
they're going to be the wife of the diplomat. She's not going to be the diplomat.
Yeah. But really what they're supposed to be doing is pump out 10 children.
While she's not the wife of the diplomat.
And that's it. And maybe make sure that you dress well. So, curtsies. We have the curtsy scenes in both films. And I liked the one in the 1958. Because they show the curtsy is the one where you go down. Like you keep your shoulders and your back straight, so you have to make like your leg has to do this impossible thing, And then you have to go down, and then you have the curtsy, or you have the bow for royal visits, and that's a different one. That's the one where you go down into the knees, but you also do the actual bowing. And both films show their version of it, so you can also see that it changes over time. I know for sure that the one of 58 will have done it correctly. Because nobody has done more research on bowing at court than the people who made the Sissie films. So no, this is how it's done, and it's very well done. Yeah, to the point of the lesbianism, I have mentioned that there are lesbian relationships between the girls, and I think what they lesbianism. Sorry, I don't have the lesbian flag, but I think they're going to say that, oh, two girls together, what could they do, blah blah blah, and they just don't take it very seriously. But the moment that Manuela has love, I would not say it's a crush actually, because it is more than an
infatuation.
Yeah, more than an infatuation. Which some of the girls, the moment she comes in, everybody says, "Oh, there's so many girls that have an infatuation for Fräulein von Bernburg." So it's known throughout the schools. Literally all they talk, well, not all they talk, but it's the first thing they talk to her about. So and it doesn't ring any weird bell for her either. She just continues on the conversation and is quite happy to discuss that. And then she gets the crush, but it is much more than a crush. And I think that's why they're actually flagging her as dangerous. Because the only thing they flagged as dangerous between the girls of the same age was like, don't write stuff down, don't show it in front of the teachers and all of that stuff. So just try to keep it under wraps, but it's not being punished. But for her, and there is an implication that Fräulein von Bernburg actually feels something too, and that I find that very difficult to pick up from. I mean, they're putting it in the film. It's in how the script is written, but the girl is 14. Fräulein von Bernburg, maybe she's lesbian. There's plenty of lesbian teachers. So there's plenty of lesbian people all over the place. But I don't think so. So I think that to put that in there...
The age difference is
she's
upsetting.
14! Yeah. And Fräulein von Bernburg is
at least 25.
Yeah, she will be between 25 and 30, kind of. They're 25, they're all like, why hasn't she married? So she's over 21. But she's not an old maid or anything like that. So she's still in the running. I find that weird. So I still think that Fräulein von Bernburg has more of a motherly feeling towards Manuela. But she can see, how is this girl going to be? Because Manuela is like, she's in love and she is not going to be... She can't do the games that
she's never going to be dutiful mother to a guy. No.
And in both films, I have the sentence that Manuela says when Fräulein von Bernburg says that she could be healed, and Manuela just looks and goes, "Geheilt wovon? Geheilt wovon? What of?
Cured.
What should I be cured of?" It's just no. And I love that. So this is why these films belong in Pride Month, because it is unequivocally in both films saying she's in love. You can jump off buildings, you can start shouting about Ordnung, keeping order and duty, but she is in love. There is no changing that. And that is why we are worried about Manuela's future.
it's not that she's in love with the lady, but she is obviously never going to be in love with a guy.
Yeah.
Because if she would be able to be in love with, or at least have something with a guy, there might be a chance. But if you're too lesbian, it's not going to be working.
No. In both films, there are no men. In the second film, they make a point of saying that there are not going to be any men in that school ever. Like literally, the postie cannot enter the school.
Yeah, but that is the harem idea. They want to preserve these ladies as pure for the guys that they're going to marry. By making clear that they are pure is by making sure that there are never any men near. That's your harem idea.
So they are not prepared to be wives at all.
But then you get the scene where when they do the play, that the girls are playing the guy's part.
Yes, so in the 31 film, it's not Romeo and Juliet, which was a great disappointment to me, because of course in the 1958 film it is Romeo and Juliet, and Manuela is Romeo. Now, that's the dreamiest Romeo ever. Which is by far, only that is already a reason to watch the film. It's the greatest trouser roll. She is absolutely adorable. She looks awesome in her Romeo outfit. In the 1931 film, it's not Romeo and Juliet. It is Don Carlos. And so it's between Don Carlos, who's a young man, I believe, and the Queen, who is an older woman, I think. But I don't know the story of Don Carlos. That's apparently an important play, and it's more likely that they would be doing a political play. It's very unlikely they would be doing Romeo and Juliet. I mean, it's Shakespeare. First of all, why? And then second, why Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, in Germany. I
mean, have you ever seen Romeo and Juliet? It is totally a total romance drama. It's all about that. No, they would have been doing
actually
either a comedy or...
The original point of Romeo and Juliet was a cautionary tale against falling in love in that way. So for that reason, they might have joined...
Suicide! Maybe that was the reason that they're saying, well, this film is supposed to end with a suicide, but we're not going to be able to show the suicide. I'm just going with that because I don't know why they don't show the suicide. And
1958.
And it's a downer.
It is.
And it's also like kill your gays. I mean, make them kill themselves. We have seen it. In 61, you get the Children's Hour. The Shirley MacLaine character, whose name I've forgotten at this point, has to commit suicide. And that was a way so that they could actually show lesbianism. And then they leave it unclear as to the Audrey Hepburn character, whether or not she was bisexual. But by not saying anything, you leave it at least open to say she could have been bisexual. In these films, it's straight up. Actually, the word lesbian is never used because they may not have had the word, or if you would have said the word, then you get in a different category. But it is very, very text that the girl is in love with the teacher is female, and this is a major point of the film.
They're not the only ones either. There are other couples in the school.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that the other students have relationships together, and that's just like, okay, it's just happening. We're not... I think they're like doing the thing of like they might grow out of it.
Yeah.
No, you don't get to grow out of it. What you get is no choices.
And
so eventually these girls will be presented with this is the despicable boy that you're going to marry because he has good parentage, and that's what you're doing. And then you're pumping out children. There's literally no choices.
Let me tell you that her choice of trying to commit suicide is the better option than her marrying some creep and then she killing him in his bed, because that is also an option.
But that's the fact that that's the better option it's the saddest thing in the universe.
Absolutely.
And I think these things do end with suicide, possibly because I am I was going to say because they're women. I am not a psychologist in any way, shape, or form, so I don't know. But I would say that the more you squeeze these young girls, the more you're going to get teenage suicide.
And the more modern way that or way that women have always done it, but now we know it, is that you get anorexic kind of things, because that the intake of food is the only thing you have any say about. And that is why women, specifically women, get that, because in earlier days, and less now, but in earlier days, that was the only thing you had control over. She could have done that. She would have been anorexic.
Yeah, I will talk to you about the Geneva Convention. These girls were treated worse than prisoners of war. So, and this was not like, you're gonna get out of this when the war ends, because that's what the Geneva Convention says, is that the moment the hostilities cease, you get sent home. No, they're never going home.
No, they're going to another prison.
They're going from this one to the next one, and until they find her somebody to marry.
And then that's a prison. That's a prison.
And then you're having 10 children.
That's a prison.
So, there's nothing. So we are literally, in this story, we're no further than Cinderella. And one thing that happens with Manuela, on top of all the things that, like, you know, the actual active things that happen to her, is I think she gets a nervous breakdown. Because they have the scenes with the punch and the party, and after that, and then everybody has realized, because she was drunk, she actually said, I love this woman. And that is the biggest horrible thing. It's like, oh, she also says she loves me back. I mean, you could just say, hey, it's a 14-year-old girl, and she had alcohol.
Punch for the first time.
And in 1910, they probably didn't realize that you shouldn't give 14-year-olds alcohol. It's not a good idea. But she falls apart, and she does not come back together. She is so depressed that, to me, it looks like it's either deep depression or nervous breakdown. It's one of those things, like I said, not a psychologist, that a person gets into this completely different headspace, and then you can commit suicide, because there's just nothing. And what do? They tell her she's going to be in the isolation ward for the rest of her stay there, because the princess has called her out especially and said, please take care of this girl, so they can't send her home, which they really wanted to do. You know, the kind of the normal expelling from the school.
That would have been better for her to be expelled. Yeah,
so she both got a bad deal from the princess. The princess was trying to do a good turn on her. The princess was trying to say, this girl, you know, she's under my care. And she did it with one other girl as well. And she probably will come in there every year and single out girls whose families have asked, please watch over my girl. And the result is disastrous here, because now she's going to have to be in the isolation room. And that's... no. And 14, 15-year-old? No. And it's the whole thing. It's the shunning. Nobody can talk to her. No, you can't do that to a person. No. So I think the suicide attempt was very reasonable.
Yes.
And not so much out of lesbian angst, but more like...
it's impossible to live.
I mean, they don't feed me. I get no clothes. I
get no life.
I get, and this was the thing about, you have to be, in the Geneva Convention, you have to be protected against public curiosity. They put her where the entire school is there, and they dress her down. They're like, you are going to the isolation ward. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. She's been made up. I want to say cocking Jay. What are these words? She's been made
a spectacle.
Yeah. There's no recourse. There's nobody she can turn to. They do this on purpose, and that's why it's in the Geneva Convention. You can't make a public curiosity of these prisoners of war, because they are people, and it falls under acts of intimidation. They have intimidated her from the moment she walked in the door there, and her auntie was doing it as well, so it's not like she's going to get away from it at any time. The whole concept that she should grieve for her mother is like, well, that's not what a soldier mother should do. She's 14! And anybody at any age can grieve for a mother, so these are my beefs. They're very good films. Extremely good films. Both of them. The 1931 film has a restoration on Blu-ray. It's still not sharp. I would have liked it if they had used AI to like sharpen it up and make it really pretty. But it's a very clear picture, so...
And there is a subtitled version on YouTube right now.
Ah, okay. Because I was going to say the Blu-ray actually has an English subtitle on it. Then there is the 1958 version, which I don't know if it has English subtitles.
There is a version around with the subtitles. I've seen it.
Okay. So, both highly recommended. Both are very beautiful. Both the actors do an amazing job. I do want to hit on one thing that is, she gives you the concept of a different era. In the 1931 film, there's a lot more touching between the teacher and Manuela. From the moment she looks at her, it's like, oh, let me look at you, turn around, and she does all that stern stuff, but then she grabs her hands, is like, you're going to be fine here, etc. The kiss, the goodnight kiss, is on the lips. And in the 58 version, of course, it's on the forehead. And we saw that before in the Anne of Green Gables that
also
was made in 33?
33, I think.
Off the top of my head. And that's when Anne and Marilla have a goodbye kiss, and it is on the lips, smack dab on the lips. So in the 30s, people were still kissing like fraternally and familially on the lips. And sometime between that and 58, that people like, no, kissing on the mouth is between lovers only. But it's not like that in the first film. It's clearly a goodnight kiss, but Manuela is the only one who gets one on the lips. All the other girls get one on the forehead. So they give these little hints that the teacher also...
has her preferences.
Yeah, has this soft spot for Manuela. And of course, they also make a remark, oh, you're very large for your age. It's like, oh, whatever. I don't know. So, yes, everybody does a great job. I just watch both of them. I would say, just do what I do. Start at the beginning and watch both of them. It was wonderful. And I'm quite happy to watch them again and again and again. It's really, really well done. And happy Pride. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.